Okay, welcome to today's video. It's a bright, cold day in April and the clock has just struck 13. So, today's topic is all about free will and the levels thereof. So, at the lowest level, we have the unconscious. And all these actions, emotions, and thoughts are thrown into the unconscious, and this is usually from childhood, and what the unconscious does is that it absorbs without consciously filtering anything. It's just this big sponge, you see. So essentially, when you have all these actions and emotions and thoughts coming from, the outside into the unconscious, that determines our thought patterns, behavioral patterns throughout life. And so, when you say, oh, I'm doing this today, you're not actually consciously choosing to do it. The behavior is determined by what you think is you, which is actually just a habit, which is ingrained and repeated over time. So when you go on Facebook, when you click on a video to watch, when you drink a cup of coffee, these are just habits determined by past behaviors. And the brain loves repetition, so when these are repeated over time, gradually becomes an ingrained habit. And then the habit becomes part of the assimilated identity of the person, yeah? So how do we break out of this? Well, number one is awareness of what's going on, and realizing that even though you are somewhat determined by your emotions, which then inspire you to take action in a certain direction, then you can kind of start turning the tables and say, wait a second, and break out of this lower unconscious level into the higher levels of awareness, transcending the old dragon of habit, and beginning with conscious choice. Now, conscious choice may feel a little weird, as Morpheus says in the first Matrix movie. This may feel a little weird. So when you are moving up or shifting up into the realm of conscious choice, your thoughts and emotions are going to be like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. So, and when you kind of become enslaved by your thoughts and emotions that determine your actions, you fall back down into the unconscious. Sorry, there's some birds nearby. Guys, can you shh? So yeah, this may feel a little weird at first, okay? But with repetition over time, you'll eventually get to the stage where you can consciously say, I choose to do this, even though I'm like, who knows, quaking inside, or feeling like not 100% feeling like shit. Because as long as there is a conscious choice, there's someone driving the ship. He might be traumatized, he might have PTSD, CPTSD, but he's still driving the ship straight on. And the next step is, let me just turn the page here, disidentifying from the thoughts and emotions that have been determining your behavior in the past. And, at the outset, again, I say this may feel a little weird. But how did we get here in the first place? Well, the unconscious. Programming over time, absorbing stuff without any filters, without any discernment. Filters, So 0 to 7, as kids, we're like in that absorbing process in the unconscious. All these shit negative programs come in, like self-limiting thoughts, as Morpheus says, fear, doubt, disbelief, and your mind has become, like as William Blake wrote, the mind-forged manacles. So, or the prison for your mind, the matrix itself, So the object, of course, is to free your mind. And by mind, that includes emotions as well. And even if you're like feeling fear inside, or rage, or even grief, you become aware of these things and realize this is not that which is not. This is not me. That which is not me equals illusion. It's playing at being you. These emotions are playing at being you, but they're not you, you see. So in a sense, they're like parasites, really. And you need to override the parasites by being aware, and with the awareness, take new action in a new direction. By not identifying with the lower impulses, but with the higher impulses. You could call it divine intelligence, or the One. So essentially, once you become aware of this, you can actually determine your behavior through free will. And this is the ultimate weapon against the Matrix. Saying, even though I'm feeling all this, all that, I choose to do this. So you are finally writing your own script. And that's it. It's all you doing it. So once you become cognizant of the fact that other people, it's not their fault, because they were absorbing their own shitty programs from the past, other people have been determining your thoughts and emotions, when you were a kid growing up, etc. Even ancestrally, like ancestral trauma and stuff. Then you begin to see the pattern, say, wait a second, this isn't me. So you, as I said before, disidentify and disentangle. In whatever way seems best for you. Who knows? Go to a monastery, go to a retreat, go on a pilgrimage, or microdose psychedelics, or whatever resonates with you, really. To rise above the unconscious, shitty, mechanical narrative that's been running your life. And I say that with passionate rage, simply because that was my story, until very recently. I'm still working through my own shit, of course, everyone is, but so the higher level of free will is the recognition that you are not this little me, but you are one with all that is. I like David Icke. I don't agree with everything he says, but one thing I do agree with is that you are not the mind. We are consciousness. Just infinitely expansive, luminous consciousness, like rays of the sun. And the qualities of that consciousness are freedom, call it truth, freedom, love, So just think of expansiveness, and that every moment in your life is an opportunity to either expand, which is love, freedom, connection, or contract, which is, fear, slavery, disconnection. And that's because most people on the planet have their default programming is this: contraction. Oh, well, I just watch the news and the government's telling me what to do, so I better do this in order to comply and just keep my mind enslaved because, it's the right thing to do, and just this whole bullshit narrative story of excuses as to why you can't live or be free or have fun or have faith, or you know what I mean. Whereas the expansion is just the infinite bliss of consciousness, which is the real you. And it might take some very rough going baby steps at first, to rewrite that script, simply because you've been fed with all this shit for too long. So that's a dragon that must be stamped out completely. There we are. So there we go. And of course, you can consciously choose this, even though inside you might be feeling a bit scared still and have all these lingering feelings of fear and, whatever. But the more you consciously do it, the more you replace the lower frequency with this higher frequency. And eventually you become a pro. And after you become a pro, it becomes your natural identity. One thing that has helped me is EFT, which is the Emotional Freedom Technique. Emotional Freedom Technique. There are some examples on YouTube, etc. But perhaps further down the line I shall give some examples or tutorials even. We'll see. But on a very mundane 3D level, EFT was something I used in order to pass my driving test. So, but it can be used for many other things as well. So yes, it's all about rewriting the script, and so the analogy is simple. Some other fucker has the pen and is writing the script for you and say, wait a second, that's my fucking pen. So you take the pen from him, say, this is me, this is my life, this is who I am. Yeah, I am love. I am that. And algorithmically, at the end of the third Matrix movie, when Neo is fighting Smith, which is the real one versus AI, the copy, Smith says, "Why do you persist? Why do you persist fighting? Why do you keep fighting when algorithmically, and in terms of probability, Neo's not going to win?" And then Neo just looks at Smith very calmly into the eye and says, because I choose to. Because I choose. Because I choose to fight, And it needs no further explanation or justification. Free will is a gift from the divine Godhead. So when someone else asks you, why are you doing this, why this, please justify your existence for me, why are you doing this, all you have to say is, even just internally, is I choose this, I choose to do this. And that's it. That's a full sentence. So we're moving from determinism and causality, oh, if you do this, then this is going to be how it is for the rest of your life. This leads to that, boom, boom, boom. Like the Merovingian in the second Matrix, who says, well, it's all cause and effect, causality, which is basically a symbol of Luciferian determinism. And he says, it's all cause and effect. His argument, the villains of this world think that there is no free will. Like in the Adjustment Bureau, the agents say, you don't have free will, you just have the appearance of free will. But that's because they've programmed his lower levels of consciousness. And that's what the Matrix does. The Matrix distracts you by targeting the lower the lower levels. So, as I said, the way out is through awareness, and the awareness of self, which is divine consciousness. And realizing that this self has been gifted free will by the divine Godhead. And that all you need to do is choose consciously. And not be influenced by negative thoughts or emotions from the past, essentially. So, yeah, we're shifting from causality to free will, also known as, I spelled it right, sovereignty. Yes, sovereignty. So, giving a very practical example, if you're adhering to government regulations because that's what they tell you to do, you're under the influence of Luciferian determinism. Whereas, if you choose to wear a mask, knowing what the agenda is, just because you choose to, then that's your choice. And that's beautiful. Likewise, if you choose not to wear a mask, that's your choice. And that's beautiful, So, we have to start honoring each other's sovereign choices. Not this determinism, because most of society is running on determinism. But conscious individual sovereignty, that is how the world is going to heal. And respecting each other's choices, without stepping on each other's toes, and blaming and shaming, But the key is waking up from the illusion and becoming self-aware. And waking people up is something I personally cannot do. I can only show them the door. They are the ones who have to open it. So, in conclusion, for this episode, free will is literally what we are. That's our true essence. But we've been determined by thoughts and emotions from the past that have kept us in control. And the opposite of control is freedom, of course. So there we go. That's the end of this video. And as ever, be free, have fun, and have faith. Much love. Take care.